Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, cats and kittens, dogs and fucking puppies, and all you wrestling fans out there all over the world, over in India, Indonesia, United Kingdom, Canada, Mexico, Japan, China, Taiwan, everywhere, Australia, Ireland, Germany, Italy, France, Scotland, you name it. They are all wrestling fans out there somewhere. But nonetheless, welcome to the Wrestling Enthusiast Real Talk. I'm Eric Peralta, otherwise known as the Wrestling Enthusiast. And today, we're going to take a look at Game Changer Wrestling, an independent show. GCW, Keep in Touch 2020. It's an event that just happened this past weekend. And it's going to be a fun little review that we're going to take place. We're going to take a look at it and see how the matches went. Also, I have a very special guest. She is none other than Zeda Zhang. She's the former WWE NXT wrestling superstar. She was also a participant in the 2017 Mae Young Classic Tournament. And she was the first women's wrestler to be signed by MLW. And sure enough, you're going to hear a lot more from her later on today. So, with that being said, let's take a look at some wrestling news and see what's going on in the wacky world of professional wrestling. But it's a lovable world because I love professional wrestling. So, let's take a look at WWE's Friday Night SmackDown viewership, which was an alright show, I guess. I didn't really take too much glimpse of it, but I did take a look at the end of the episode. I took a look at that situation when The Fiend gave a mandible claw to Alexa Bliss, which that was pretty crazy. I didn't think they would do that. But anyway, let's take a look at the ratings and see where they went with that. It says that this week's episode of WWE SmackDown did 1,894,000 viewers on Fox. This is down 30,000 viewers from the 1,924,000 viewers they did last week. SmackDown pulled in a 0.50 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, the same rating from last week, and the viewership numbers for the year definitely a lot better than it was, I believe. Well, actually, it was a lot better than it was back in July 3rd, so that was during the 4th of July week. So they have definitely... there's definitely still a bit of inconsistency here, and it's definitely not looking good for them. But you know, they got to do something a little different. They got to do something a little bit more innovative to capture the minds of the wrestling fans out there. So they have announced Impact Wrestling's broadcast on Tuesday night. By the time this comes out, it's going to be Tuesday night. So it's going to be Tuesday. So Eddie Edwards has an open challenge for the Impact title. So basically, he's challenging anybody. I mean, I probably wouldn't be too surprised if EC3 would show up, but you never know who's going to show up. So anybody could possibly challenge him for the belt. Chris Bay and Rohit Raju versus TJP and Falaba was going to be there. Moose versus Heath. If Heath wins, he earns an Impact contract. That's going to be actually pretty interesting. There will be an interview with Jimmy Jacobs when he interviews the Motor City Machine Guns, and then Rich Swann addresses his future. So that's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen on Impact Wrestling tomorrow night. Make sure you check that out on Access TV. And I don't know. Check it out. I always check it out every week. I always keep in line with professional wrestling. I watch wrestling religiously. So, you know, I just always check out what's going on the other shows and the other promotions. You know, whether it's New Japan, WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, MLW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Stardom, you name it. Anything. I have an IW TV subscription for a reason. Anyway, interesting note here. According to reports by Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, their pay-per-view that happened on Saturday, Talkin' Shop-O-Mania, the pay-per-view event that was on Fight TV, did better than you expect. That's what the quote is going on. Impact, I believe the Impact wrestlers had this Talking Shop-a-mania. And you know what? I can't really rate it because it's kind of like a comical show. And they promoted it as the worst wrestling pay-per-view ever. Now, was it the worst pay-per-view ever? Well, I can't say it's the worst. I think Heroes of Wrestling back in 1999 has something to say about that. But nonetheless, I thought it was funny. I pretty much thought it was funny. The hilarity right there and the mockery, especially when you saw Teddy Long and you see Maria and you see some old wrestlers like Lodi from the Ravens Flock back in 1997, 98, back at WCW back in those days. So it's like crazy. It was so funny to watch that. See Hornswoggle. I seen the Rock and Roll Express. And Heath Slater was all sitting there. We got Johnny Swinger right there. And they're all kinds of talking shit in this match, especially that boner yard match. Oh, my God. What the fuck? Boner yard match. What the fuck? Sorry, I had to laugh at that one. I had to laugh at that. But that was so funny. But I did see it. And it was fucking funny, especially that little spot where Enzo showed up, and that fucking dipshit Enzo, it's so funny. He was dropping F-bombs and he didn't even know what the fuck to say. So with that being said, it's just so funny watching the Talk Shop of Me, especially when Enzo got super kicked at Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson's little photography little table right there, and then he fell on it, and he's all, "What the hell, man?" Now, if I could change the subject of this, it was a funny show, but I'm gonna keep in gear here. Matt Cardona. He did an interview with Sportskeeda, and I guess he confirmed several reports that I guess the AEW deal is a short-term one. He says, unquote, "Yes, so there's a few appearances right now, but listen, I'm not here for a little vacation. I'm here to win the TNT title, the AEW title, to get all those action figures. I'm here because I want to be here. You know what I'm saying? So we'll get there. Just stay tuned, everybody. Just take a chill pill and relax and enjoy the show." That's a good approach to do it. And by the way, Matt Cardona and Cody Rhodes will be teaming up to face John Silver and Alex Reynolds of the Dark Order on AEW Dynamite later this week. Yeah, so did anybody watch Raw this week? And, Vince McMahon, if I could just be serious for a minute. Vince McMahon said on I guess conference call during the quarterly dividends or whatever the hell, they're making money regardless. But nonetheless, he's mentioned something on his fucking Twitter. And he said, or I guess this is the audio clip of the conference call. We need to make more. We need to make new superstars and charismatic characters. We definitely need to work on making builder and higher than life characters. And of course, we're going to be working on improving that. And of course, definitely, we're going to be trying to look up because we provide great entertainment. And of course, we're going to be making better profits, and that way we understand that the viewers have been declining. But yeah, fine. Like, if the viewers at home and the wrestling fans got nothing better to do than to fucking watch an actual wrestling match that featured Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano at NXT. Okay, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so okay, I understand. Monday Night Raw was happening at the time. By the time I'm recording this, it's Monday. It's Monday night. So, yeah. So, I got a report this morning that Shane McMahon has returned to the WWE, and I guess he's gonna do something or something. So, I looked up and I see some reactions to it, and I think to myself, oh, WWE is going to make some new stars and whatever, fuck. And so they bring back Shane McMahon. Speaking of Shane McMahon, former WWE superstar Rusev, aka Miro, he took a shot at WWE for bringing back Shane on Raw tonight, and he said, and I'm quoting, "We want to build new talent. Shane is back." Sums it up. Because that's, like I said, you know, I think Maria even took a shot at WWE for making a new star. So of course they're going to be talking shit about this. Another thing that caught my attention, that Rusev, or Miro, he wasn't the only one that was complaining about this. He was joined in by Maria Kanellis, who also made an interesting comment. And reading from her Twitter account, she says, on quote, "WWE doesn't want to build new superstars. They want to spike the ratings for a couple of weeks to keep the investors / networks happy. What WWE doesn't seem to get is ratings improvement. When people care about the story / stars, invest in talent. Spend the time building stars and stop the laziness." Well, you know, like I say, I like the WWE, but you know, apparently this is my personal opinion. She's right about this crap. If you want to build superstars, why are you using the old ones over and over again, and you're not using the ones coming from NXT? You're not using these highly potential athletes, and you guys do not utilize them. You figured, oh, let's see how people get a reaction to that. Let's see how it goes, and then they don't know. The fans don't know what to think yet because they're not completely sold on them yet, and they will eventually down the road if you give them the chance. Don't give him 2 or 3 months and then say, he's not getting a reaction. Send him back to lower card. Look at what they're doing to Ricochet. Look at what they did to Aleister Black. Look at what they did to Cedric Alexander. I mean, come the fuck on. And I watched Raw. This week. And there was a rumor going around that Shane McMahon's going to create something that raised a few eyebrows in the backstage, which I heard was also being chaotic because they were doing shit at the last fucking minute. Way to go, Vince. Way to go. Way to fucking go. And then another rumor came that a faction was going to be brought in. A faction. So, Raw starts, the lights briefly go out during the opening. And I'm thinking to myself, is something happening here? Maybe it's part of the show, but is something happening? Like, oh, we apologize for that, for the power switch, blah, blah, blah. Apollo Crews comes out, the lights flicker again. And then there's a match between Apollo Crews and MVP. And I'm not going to rate the match, but it was a quick win by Apollo Crews. I don't give a shit. I don't care. Whatever. Then they mentioned something about the brainchild of Shane McMahon. And then we wouldn't find out about it for another hour and a half. And we have a Kevin Owens show segment with Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. And, yeah, I mean, Jesus. I'm going to stop right there. Because I just finished watching Raw. And there was 2 things that I was told via Twitter, via the dirt sheets, via the wrestling news outlets, via the journalists. And here's the thing. There was backstage rumors that this thing was going to debut from Shane McMahon, which ended up being the Raw Underground shit. like around it's around 6:30. They debut the Raw Underground shit, and this is how it ended up. It's like a Fight Club like shit, and then like there's like 3 dancing strippers, or they look like strippers. I don't know who the fuck they are. They're unmentioned, but they're dancing in the background with the music, and then there's fighting inside a ropeless ring. And I don't know what the fuck it's like an underground Fight Club like shit. Dub Raw Underground. Now, I could sense the damn Fight Club like style with some mixed martial arts in there. But you know, I mean, on a Monday Night Raw, I just don't know. But again, I was told, or not, I read that there was going to be a new faction that was going to debut on Monday Night Raw and cause some chaos. So a little bit of more time went by. I watched a little bit of the episode once again. And then I started looking at that. And then, okay, I'm waiting to see, after like a few matches go by, and then I see the Street Profits come out against Andrade and Angel Garza with, you know, Selena Vega was out there with him. Then there's, you know, the poison angle, who poisoned Montez Ford. And then that angle was going on. It's cringe. I just hate to say it, but it's cringe. Like I said, Raw's the B show in my opinion. SmackDown is the C show. What does the C stand for, cocksucker? Anyway, NXT is the A show in my opinion. It's always going to be the better show, and it, to me, in my opinion, will be the best show that WWE has to offer. It's no bullshit, no nonsense, professional wrestling. Sports entertainment. You got to say sports entertainment. Fuck you. Anyway, but so yeah, I'm watching this shit, and I'm like, well, where's this group gonna come? Well, the faction that I was thinking was gonna happen was, they said that Tom Phillips was before the boring ass Seth Rollins segment that happened, that they had backstage footage of a camera of something caught on tape in the back, and there was like 5 people that I don't know who they were. 5 guys, 5 people. I don't know who the fuck they were, but anyway, so what happened is, there was an electrical box or something that was going on, and then they started trashing it, and then they started throwing Molotov cocktails on it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Were they doing some vandalizing or some shit that was going on? You know, if there would have been some fuckers that were doing that shit, I would have called the cops. But anyway, so I thought to myself, this has got to be the faction. This has got to be the faction that's probably debuting, and it's probably what's been going on with the lights and all that shit. I was thinking Undisputed Era, but that was not the case. But then after that, they were never mentioned again. So the only thing that was left, it was at the end of Raw, after the Dominic and Seth Rollins shit that happened. We finished the last 5 minutes of Raw with Raw Underground, and we see Dolph Ziggler fighting a bunch of nobodies, and then here comes the Hurt Business, which is the new stable featuring MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin. So then they all start going in there. Bobby Lashley goes in there first and starts beating a bunch of nobodies. And then MVP starts going in and starts beating a bunch of nobodies. Then all of a sudden, Shelton Benjamin started knocking out a bunch of nobodies in the middle of that ring. In the middle of that ropeless ring. And then, I mean, I like the MMA elements of it. I like it. But, you know, I'm just not sold on it yet. You have to give me some time so I can get an opinion on it. But nonetheless, at the end of the show, they said they're going to start doing some business, and then before you know, they started going after everybody out ringside. And they sure beat the fuck out of at least 3 guys, and they started beating the shit out of them. I mean, that was cool. But, you know, and then Shane McMahon said, hey, you guys are welcome to stay here anytime. So that's the whole way this fucking episode ended, and we never got that other faction of the hoodlums that were causing chaos, throwing fucking Molotov cocktails. What the fuck? But, you know, boy, oh boy, that Raw was a 5-finger stinker in my opinion, and I'm not even gonna rate it. I'm not gonna rewatch that shit again. But that's what I thought. I just thought, you know, a little bit of WWE false advertising was pure bullshit. But whatever. That was this week's Monday Night Raw. All right, so we have a little treat for you this week on the Wrestling Enthusiast Real Talk podcast. We have a very special guest on the show this week. She is Zeda Zhang. She is the former WWE NXT superstar. She was a former participant in the Mae Young Classic Tournament in 2017 when she fought Shayna Baszler, and she's the first women's wrestler to be signed to MLW. So my interview with Zeda Zhang, and Zeda Zhang is really cool. She's really awesome, and I've seen some of her matches on NXT. I've seen the Mae Young Classic, and you know, I really I think she's really cool. I actually met her twice in Wilmington, California. The PCW Ultra was having a show in October of 2019, and she was supposed to have a match in that show versus Sumi Sakai for the PCW Ultra Women's Championship. However, unfortunately, she sustained some sort of ACL injury, and it sucks that she had to endure that. And then I met her again back in January earlier this year, 2 months before fucking pandemic struck. And, you know, I met her once again. I bought a Funko Pop off of her, and I got it autographed by her. And, you know, she's really cool. I met her at the meet and greets. And I suggest anybody that when everything's back to normal and then the independent shows come back again, especially with the ones right here in PCW Ultra, right here in Wilmington, California, I suggest you go and get the meet and greet tickets because they're super awesome. And it's really cool to get merch off all the wrestlers and all the superstars. You know, they're all really awesome people. Go and check them out. I support them 100%, and they put on great matches. So, but anyway, Zeda was definitely one of them, and I bumped into her once again. And it was just really cool. She's really awesome. So, without any further ado, here is my special guest appearance with Zeda Zhang. It's a one-on-one interview, and I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, joining me now is a very special guest. She's a former WWE NXT talent. She was a participant in the Mae Young Classic Tournament back in 2017. She was the first women's pro wrestler to ever be signed at MLW, and she's trained in martial arts, so be careful, she'll kick your ass and anything at all. She also likes music too. So let's welcome in Zeda Zhang. Zeda, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I am freaking awesome, man. I'm just totally psyched for this. You're actually my first guest, really, to be on my show.
Oh, no way. Yay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just figured, yeah, I know. It's so cool. And, you know, I figured if you're going to be my first guest, I figured why not you, you know?
Oh, you're too sweet. I'm excited for this. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, I've been checking, you know, there's like a couple of matches out on YouTube. I saw you there, but, you know, you also have a Patreon as well.
Yeah. Sadly, I don't have that much on YouTube. Most of my stuff after WWE, I was traveling in Asia for like almost a whole year.
Oh, wow.
So most of my stuff is in Asia, and I got like at least 8 matches that's not out from OWE when I was over there, and I've been trying to get it, still haven't gotten it, so there's some issues with that.
Yeah, especially right now, you know.
Yeah.
No, especially I know it's if you hear like a little noise in the background, it's because I got the damn air conditioner on. Over here in Cali, it was like the hottest it was like 106.
Oh my gosh, are you
Yeah,
serious?
yes, it was 106 because we had a heat wave going on. Like tomorrow's gonna be like 99 degrees, so it's like, oh god, it's hot. But I had to put the air conditioner in my freaking face.
Ooh,
But
horrible.
fudge.
I can hear you just fine.
Oh,
Hopefully you
okay,
can
that's
hear me.
good. I can hear
Yeah.
you perfectly. Actually, you sound great. So anyway, before you became a professional wrestler, you were actually a car model at one time, right?
Yeah, I was.
How was that experience for you?
It was fun. It was actually a childhood dream, a teenage dream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I finally got to fulfill it when I was in my mid to late 20s, when I moved out to California. So I actually always wanted to be a car show model because I've been into like cars and racing mainly because of Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, that
When
was the
I was,
movie.
when the movie The Fast and the Furious came out, I was like 13, 14. And so I was
Yeah,
like, oh man, this is badass. This is something like I wish I was a car show model. And
that's
then,
cool.
when I was 19, I got to do a local one, but it wasn't anything like big. And then when I moved out to California in like 2013, I basically I've already been modeling for years before that in Virginia, Washington D.C., like the Maryland DMV area, in the East
Oh,
Coast.
okay.
So I had a whole portfolio of my modeling up, and then Hot Import Nights found me and asked me to be their model. So I was psyched because Hot Import Nights was the thing, especially back in the day. So I was
Wasn't there like a
excited.
auto? I'm sorry to bother you, but like, isn't there like a auto show like in Vegas that usually is like one of the biggest of the year too? They do that.
Yeah, SEMA. I was
SEMA,
there
yeah.
too.
There you go. That was
Yeah,
that
I
was.
modeled for them also.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
basically, yeah, it was great. And it was because of being at Hot and for Nights, I ended up modeling for all these other companies. Basically, I think I modeled at every major like car show company. So it was like Hot and for Nights, Extreme Auto Fest, Wake Fest, Spocom, SEMA,
Oh
like
wow.
bunch of ones, and it was so much fun. And Formula One, Formula Drift, that was fun. I
Wow.
was I ended up becoming the main model for Vertex.
Oh,
Vertex
cool.
USA, they're like a famous Japanese body kit company, and they're really big in Japan and the US. But I modeled for them as one of their booth models, and
Wow.
got to go to all these fun drift events, and it was just
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
could
fun.
bet those are fun. I mean, I always said to myself when I was little, like back in the '90s, like I was like, man, that'd be so cool to be a race car driver. Then I found out I just grew up and ended up having a big frame, and I'm like, I wouldn't fit in these damn things. but, but nah, I was also a fan of like fight sports, boxing, wrestling, because I grew up with Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and stuff. So I just
And
basically,
yeah, it
yeah,
kind of
there
all
you
crossed
go.
over. It all
Yeah.
crosses over. So I feel like a lot of people who are into those things also like, I don't know, cars and racing. I grew up with like, I loved cars for some reason. I don't know why. I was like a tomboy growing up. So I played with Hot Wheels. I had the whole track thing and all that. It was so much fun.
That's awesome.
But actually, thinking about it, the only car show I kind of model with, even though I wasn't modeling directly for the show, but I was at the event for Jim Beam at NASCAR, and that was a lot of fun.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
NASCAR,
cool.
Harley Davidson, I modeled for them back in the
Nice.
East Coast, and that was a lot of fun. But
Wow,
it was vibe modeling for import show. NASCAR is more like it's more like drinking and whatever, There's a lot
partying
of
it
drinking,
up and all that.
yeah, and it's a different demographic because
Yeah,
it's
because
more.
I remember I'm sorry I'm bugging you again. My apologies, but yeah, because I went to an IndyCar event with my brother one time back in 2005 in Fontana, and we arrived at the parking lot at 7:30 in the morning, and you see people already getting drunk already and all that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and
They were
I had it.
crap.
Yeah, they get crazy over there. And then like I went to use the porter potty. I went to use the bathroom, the facilities, and I hear someone making a weird noise next door. I'm like, what the hell? And
Yep.
I was like, geez,
That's,
yeah. I'm like, are you puking or are your liver's quivering? But but anyway, Yeah, that's really awesome that you were a car model and doing it. Because I have a friend I went to school with that does something similar, but she also like does modeling for supermarkets, like Mexican supermarkets and stuff. So she's really cool. Another question of yours. After car modeling, you started to train in MMA, mixed martial arts. That's what you did, right?
I did it before modeling. So
Oh,
I
you did it
actually,
before. Oh, okay.
yeah, a lot of people used to think that I modeled and then turned into MMA, but no, I actually started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 2 months before modeling.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
actually, maybe almost 2 months before modeling, but it happened around the same time. But everyone thinks that I modeled first just because MMA, you don't really get to see what goes on in there, especially back then in like 2007.
Yeah.
The gyms are very secretive. And when you're training, you're not allowed to bring cameras. You can't be recording. It's a really big like disrespect to be
Yeah.
recording training because you're giving away the moves. And on top of that, it makes you look like a douche to record yourself training all the time.
Right.
And especially, but nowadays, everything seems to be like, oh, if there's no picture, it didn't happen. But back in the days, people were training all the time, and there's very little footage of that. And you don't put that out, especially when you have a fight coming up. You don't want your opponent to know all your secrets.
Right, and that's
So,
I guess that's pretty much why that's an open field kind of in a way right now, I guess, when it comes to MMA, I guess.
yeah, I mean, it's going to come out eventually, but when people are actually training for a fight, they don't record stuff in the gym, and you're not allowed to. So
Yeah.
all that is like secret stuff. So basically, there is no stuff out there, but I was working as a part-time model while I was going to college. So I was working as a model for work, but I was also training martial arts and at school. So all the stuff that people see of me online is, of course, modeling. Because it's easy. You take a photo, get it, put it online.
Yeah.
I can't go into training and secretly record video or whatever. So I actually started jiu-jitsu in 2007 and then ended up going to MMA after. But jiu-jitsu was actually what started before modeling.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really awesome right there. That's really cool. And then you got into professional wrestling. Was there like anything that appealed to you in the sport of professional wrestling?
It was something that I've always liked as a kid. I didn't know what I was watching because even though I was born in the U.S., I didn't learn English till later because my parents were too busy and I was taken care of by my grandma. And my grandma, she doesn't know English. So she's like straight from China and she didn't know any English and she took care of me growing up. So my first language I learned was Mandarin. So when I learned Mandarin Chinese, I didn't know what I was watching on TV, but my grandma was the one that got me into pro wrestling. She used to watch like WCW, WWF, even college wrestling. And I thought they were all the same thing, but different leagues. And different,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay, these are all different ones. The funny thing was I thought the college wrestling was like the low budget one. So I'm like, oh, they don't get all that pyro. You know, they don't get the fancy stuff.
Right.
Only WCW and WWF gets the fancy stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, Olympic wrestling, college wrestling, oh yeah, they're kind of broke. So
yeah.
It's funny. Well,
they're not as popular as WWE or AEW or anything like that.
Yeah. So even back in the day, so I didn't know what I was watching, and I just know that I enjoyed it. I had fun watching it, but I never believed in myself to think that I could ever do anything like that. So it wasn't something even close in my mind to pursue. I was a shy art girl. My whole life was art. That's all I did growing up. So anything art related, art, music, dance, or whatever, like it was something that I kept to myself. The only thing that people knew me as back then was that I was really good at art. And I won a lot of school competitions, state competitions, like won a lot of art competitions as a kid. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was like really my whole life. And I didn't get into performing arts until much later in my life because of self-esteem issues. I have bad stage fright and social anxiety. So because of it ended up holding me back from that. But it wasn't until college when I started well, I mean, I knew I had this issue of social anxiety since I was young, but I didn't start trying to actively fix it until I was 12. And I was actively trying to fix it on my own for years and years until I got to college and ended up modeling, and that helped me give part of my confidence. And then when I won my first jiu-jitsu tournament was when I actually gained my full confidence. And because I had the confidence, I went full on into performing arts because it was always something I wanted to do. So at this time, like I said, I already gotten into martial arts. I got into it because I was thinking jiu-jitsu is the closest thing to wrestling. I actually tried to go out for the wrestling team in school. And during the time when I finally got the guts to go out for it, I was in 8th grade, and I was in a boarding school. It was like an all-guys military school. But the year that I got there, it was the first year it turned co-ed. So they ran everything like a military. It was really strict, and it was a really messed up school. I honestly hated that school. So
especially you were fighting with the guys too, right?
Well, no, I wasn't allowed on the team. But
you weren't? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so basically I hated the school because I wanted to join the team, and they told me I wasn't allowed to join because I was a girl. So they discriminated against my sex and basically wouldn't let me join the wrestling team just because I was a girl. So I was pissed about that. And then later when I got to high school, I got too busy trying to get ready for college and trying to get my SATs and whatever scores up. So
that's good. That's good, you know.
I finally got to college. I was in a really unsafe city, and I thought to myself, I almost got gang raped. So it really changed my perspective on life, and it scared me a lot to the point where I felt the need to basically go and protect myself. And I've always been interested in martial arts because of Ninja Turtles, you know, Kung Fu movies, Mortal Kombat, like it was always something I really enjoyed watching and playing with. So it influenced my upbringing, and because of that, I was like, all right, I want to take martial arts, but I don't know what to take. And I ended up picking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because it was the closest thing to wrestling. I didn't know the difference between pro wrestling and wrestling. So I was like, it was the closest thing to wrestling. So I ended up doing Jiu-Jitsu, and that's what led to MMA. And like pro wrestling had been out of my mind for years. Like I watched it when I was 4 years old, and I stopped watching it pretty much when my grandma ended up with Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, poor thing.
So I was 12, and because that was like our bonding thing. She was the one that got me into it. So we watched it together. And then when she got Alzheimer's disease, I stopped watching it as much at 12 years old. And then as her condition got worse, like I watched it even less. And when she passed away, when I was like 15, 16, that's when I completely stopped watching it. So I missed all those like really good times of pro wrestling. And as I got older, when I began to understand stuff more, I had already stopped watching it. So in my mind, it was left off from what I remembered as a kid. So to my mind, I was like, oh, it's the same as like college wrestling, Olympic wrestling, you know, it's just on a bigger stage. Different. The only thing that I thought it was I thought they exaggerated the pain. I thought like you got hit and then they exaggerated to make it bigger because it's for TV.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing. But everything else, I thought it was the same. And I thought it was a different rule because it was a different league. So I ended up, it was out of my mind until my whole life was MMA until I got an offer to go try out for WWE because of my connections in MMA. So I got asked to, because I used to, I've traveled a lot for MMA, and one of the gyms I went and trained at for a little bit was Greg Jackson's out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And when I was out there, I met this girl who writes for Fight Magazine, and she interviewed this guy who's a well-known fighter in the UFC, Brandon Vera, back in the day. She interviewed him and this other guy, the guy he fought, Paul Chang, when they fought on ONE FC, which was still up and coming during that time. It was like a new pretty new promotion, but they had already gotten their footing, and they got a lot. They're like the UFC of Asia. So
Oh,
basically,
okay.
they fought on there. And the thing with New Mexico and MMA community, especially back then, is once you're like legit in, the circle is so tight and small. And especially in Albuquerque, like when you become friends with one of the fighters there, like the whole damn city adds you. The whole city added me on
Wow.
Facebook. So basically everyone added me because we had so many mutual friends. This guy,
Yeah.
Paul, added me. So he added me, but he didn't say anything to me for years
Oh.
and years, like 4 years. And then that 4 years, a whole 4 years of not talking to me, I had already been in California. And out of nowhere, he hits me up and he's like, because at this point I had joined Black House MMA, which is the gym that Anderson Silva, Lyoto Machida, and all those people are at. So I was there training, and then next thing you know, Paul Chang hit me up and he goes, hey, I've been watching you training. I think you'd be great for WWE. Let me know if you want to try out. And I was like, what? That's how you get in? Like,
That's weird. That's kind
yeah.
of weird that they kind of like approached you like that, because you're like, for all these years you never knew who he was, and then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, when you started training at your camp, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've been watching your tryouts and stuff. You want to join the WWE? That's like surprising in a way, in my opinion.
Well, the thing is,
Somewhat.
we've been friends on Facebook for like 4 years, so he
Okay.
never made the move to talk to me. But it was like out of nowhere. So it's crazy because you just never know the connection. Like when someone adds you and stuff, I just thought, I mean, he just added me because of mutual friends. But he's been, watching my stuff for a while, even though he never talked to me. We never talked.
Yeah.
And then it was a blessing in disguise. He basically got me the tryout. And then I worked really hard during the tryout to get through, because I still didn't know anything about like how pro wrestling was. In my mind, it was still left off from what I knew as a kid. So when I was for this tryout, so even up to the tryout, I did not know what pro wrestling was really. Because like I said, I completely cut it off, and my whole life was MMA. And so finally, when I was training for the tryout, I was actually training in amateur wrestling. I was still training in MMA, but I would cut out the striking, and I basically just trained all wrestling. And it was until I went to my strength and conditioning gym. I was at like several gyms. So I was mainly at Black House training wrestling, and then I was at the strength and conditioning gym training, and then my strength and conditioning coach was like, you got a fight coming up? And I was like, actually, no, it's for a tryout. And he goes, what tryout? And I'm like, for WWE. And he goes, oh, there's a pro wrestling gym down the street, right? I was like, what? There's pro wrestling gyms? Like, I didn't think that you could get any training for WWE. I thought that they only hired Olympic wrestlers, or like at least collegiate D1 wrestlers, like
right.
State champions,
Yeah, the top dogs, the top ranked wrestlers.
Yeah, I thought everyone was a Kurt Angle in there, So I was like, all right, there's no way I would ever have a chance to be in WWE. But then when they contacted me, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a tryout. So I just trained really hard in amateur wrestling. And then when I went to this pro wrestling gym, I was like, okay, I go there thinking it was going to be the same, pretty much the same thing, but knowing how to work for TV. And next thing you know, it ends up being Santino Brothers, where Brian Kendrick's school is.
You know what? That's the one in Bell Gardens, right? Is that the one over there? Yeah, I remember.
Literally walking distance.
I had a friend of mine that trained over there, actually. But I was thinking about going over there. But, I don't know why. I had 2 jobs, and I was, like, working, like, 12 to 16-hour days. And it's like, I just never found the time to do it. But, it's just – it was something – I always interested in the pro wrestling business. So that's really cool, though. So you went to a Santino Brothers wrestling then.
Yeah, I went there for a couple of months on an accelerated summer program, and then went for the tryout. I'm so thankful. Like, my strength and conditioning coach told me about that place, because if I hadn't have found Santino Brothers, like, I would not know anything about rolls and bumps and all that stuff, because I thought it was wrestling. Like,
Yeah, selling and all that.
yeah, like selling, I think, isn't too hard for me, because I've done acting before when I was modeling. So I understand acting and performing, but I just didn't know that that was part of pro wrestling. I
Yeah.
thought it was actually wrestling. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, it's the same thing, except they maybe just tweak some stuff for you here and there.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that was what's funny. And then I ended up getting through a tryout and getting in. And that started my whole pro wrestling career.
And that's when you entered the 2017 Mae Young Classic Tournament.
Yes.
How was that experience like, especially meeting all the other independent wrestlers that were world class? I mean, the names on the list was unbelievable. You know, if you think about it, that must have been a hell of an experience.
Well, the thing is, like, I never came from pro wrestling. Like,
Uh-huh.
so I honestly I didn't know anyone in there. I know that they were there, but I didn't know how great they were. Like, I
Yeah.
had no idea how, like, well known they were, like, in other promotions and elsewhere and stuff. But I just treated like, okay, I got to get this done, you know. I'm going to make sure I do well. And it was very little prep time. Like, they told us about it like a month and a half before it happened, but there was no word of it after. And then all of a sudden, 4 days before the actual tournament, they're like, all right, it's go time. And then we had to go and do all these shoots and interviews and stuff. And we only had the day before to prepare for it. And so luckily, like, WWE knew what they were doing. They purposely put me with Shayna Baszler because we had similar styles. We're both from MMA, and
Yeah.
she's a grappler. So it worked out because I was still very green. Like, I got in, I barely got any training. And then we had this tournament come up. So basically went into this tournament, and it was pretty much like a shoot because I didn't really know any pro wrestling moves. And Shayna, being the vet that she is, she knew both. She knew how to make it work with what I – and we just kind of went in and told the story of our grappling background in jiu-jitsu. And so it worked out really well because I got to use what I was familiar with and what I've spent basically my whole sports career doing is grappling. So it was nice that WWE saw that and knew to put us together and let us do our thing rather than try to make us something that we're not with, you know, trying to do pro wrestling moves when that's not my.
That's really cool. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, you ended up being like a learning experience for you in a way, and it actually helped you out in your pro wrestling career. So that's really cool. You know, it was
great.
I dig that. I could imagine. Did you ever meet the champion who won the whole tournament, Kairi Sane?
Oh, yeah. We were actually good friends.
Oh, that's cool.
Her with a bunch of stuff. We hung out all the time because her English, she didn't know like that much stuff. So when she came, I helped her with everything. Like, I helped her like I did with all the Chinese people that were there. Since I'm bilingual, I went and helped them with that. And so she became friends with us, and especially me and Zaya. And so we would do everything together. And whenever Kairi needed help with stuff, I would help her with it. So we're good friends and stuff. She's super cool, super nice.
Yeah, I could tell she has like a really, really, really sweet demeanor. And I could tell Xia Li is also really nice too. I could tell they are.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really good. You ever meet anybody when you got signed to MLW?
Oh, yeah. I've met a bunch of people because before I got signed to them, I already wrestled for them a few times.
All right. Oh, that's cool.
I've already been there. I was, after my release with WWE, I went straight to MLW and I worked some shows with them, and we're supposed to, have a storyline with me and Su Yung there, but then some stuff happened, and it didn't work out. So then I ended up going on tour for basically the whole year, and then when I got back, MLW contacted me and signed me.
Oh wow, that's really cool. And you're gonna have a battle with Su Yung. I bet you that would have been crazy.
We were a tag team, so it was like great. Yeah.
Oh, that's really awesome.
We were a tag team. Yeah, we were the Kotakushi Death Squad.
That's really cool. That's really funny because I thought to myself, 'cause I bought a Su Yung shirt, and then when I started this podcast, I was thinking to myself, how would I have her on my show, like on my podcast? Because I was thinking about having a couple of people, a couple of wrestlers in my show. You're my first one, obviously, but I was thinking about having a couple of guests. But I wonder how you met. So Su Yung, she's pretty cool too, then, huh?
Yeah, she's super nice. She's like one of the nicest people.
Yeah, that's really awesome. You ever met Selena De La Renta?
I'm good friends with her.
Oh, that's
if
cool.
you see like my stuff, like she is all over my stuff. We're good friends. She's one of my good friends in pro wrestling. She's always been super cool with me, super helpful. Like she's really smart, very, very smart, and really understands like the business aspect of everything, which is a very important part of pro wrestling.
Oh, that's really awesome. That's really cool. So I first met you at PCW Ultra back over there in Wilmington. And, I always get the meet and greets because I like to meet up with the wrestlers because I like to take pictures with them and I like to, meet up with them. I always buy something off of them because I know how, tough the wrestling business could be. And, I understand, how, only thing I ask is for a picture. That's all I ask. And, I know how – I'll buy a shirt too. And as a matter of fact, I have your Funko Pop.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, I got your Funko Pop with me right here, actually.
Yay.
Yeah, I figured because I said to myself 5 minutes before I was going to go on, I said, wait, I don't have my Funko Pop. Let me bring it out. So I brought it out, put it on, because I put it away.
Awesome.
I put it away somewhere safe so that way it won't get messed up, to add it to a collection. And then, because I don't really collect Funko Pops, but I said, you know what? I'm going to start with one. You're also my first Funko Pop, by the way. So how awesome is that?
Honor, that's cool.
How awesome is that? So anyway.
That's awesome.
So anyway, unfortunately, you sustained an injury at the time that you were supposed to make your debut match against Sumi Sakai, I believe. Yeah, you're supposed to be with Sumi Sakai against her. You sustained an injury, huh?
Yeah, I literally had just tore my whole ACL, my whole knee apart during training. But luckily, I've been healing up, so I'm pretty good now.
That's awesome.
The whole
That's
time
awesome.
I've been doing PT training and just strengthening the muscles around it, and it's pretty good.
That's good. That's good. So you're ready to go then, pretty much then.
Yeah.
Well, that comes up to my next question. When the pandemic struck, what did you think? Were you kind of nervous about the wrestling business that when the pandemic struck?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be bad. And not just the business in general, but everything else, health, safety, everything was going to be bad. That's why I left and came out to Taiwan.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I booked my tickets all the way back since January. And I had already known about it because, I hear the news, and sadly, there's not – right now there's a lot of propaganda going on in the U.S., so there's a lot of news that's not being shown. And so when I was in the U.S., my parents were in Asia. Oh. They were in Asia, and they were calling me hey, is California shut down? I was like, no, it's normal out here. And they're like, the pandemic's getting really bad. And they're like, how is the U.S. not shut down yet? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, you should come back. We really suggest you come back because it's going to get bad. And as I'm hearing this from all my Asian friends and everyone that's living in Asia, and I'm just like, okay, it's legit going to hit the U.S. really badly because everyone's going around like it's normal still. And so then I was like, all right, so I booked my tickets back in January to have a flight in March. My flight was on March 12th. I was lucky because it was literally days, like few days before the shutdown. So by the time I arrived to Taiwan, March 14th, because of the time difference, the US shut down. So
you kind of lucked out then, pretty much then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a good thing, like, because of getting news elsewhere, and you know, I knew it was going to get bad, and that's why I left, and I'm so glad I did, because it would have been bad.
Okay, yeah, because see, when you went to Taiwan, and then the very next day, like, the governor announced everything was going to be shut down, and I was like, oh my god, I did like face palm on my face, like saying, oh no, don't tell me this crap's gonna be happening. A lockdown, everyone's gonna be under house arrest and all that crap, and there's people panicking out there. As a matter of fact, you know, back when this first started, I had to go to a supermarket, and I had to like buy a couple of things, just get a couple of food and drink, and then get like a couple of essentials, and the line is literally like from there to Timbuktu. It was like people everywhere, and then the toilet paper was gone, and I'm like, what the heck? But you know, it's like, what the heck? Come on, people. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I talk big shit about the propaganda that's been going on here, and you know, I understand why you left to Taiwan, because I could see they take everything a lot more calmly over there, and over here it's like everyone goes ape shit. But you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, you know, good thing, but I feel bad for, you know, everyone in the US right now, because like they can't even get the basics of proper information. So everyone's all panicking, everyone's like getting wrong information, people are getting sick, and it's really sad. I actually have several friends who've gotten coronavirus twice, then other ones who've gotten it, and then other ones who had family members who died from it. So personal people that I've known that's died from it. So it's really scary, especially since I'm glad I'm out here, because I'm actually kind of immune compromised and I have asthma, so it would be bad for me. And my, you know, being old, it's just not good. So, you know, the only thing I can do is basically try and send masks, like proper masks, over to US, or like I always post the news out here and I translate, put it on my story so people could get the proper news, because they're not getting it in the US for some reason. Like every single time I'm posting stuff, everyone's like, what? That's not true. Is that really true? I'm like, yeah. What do you mean? Like, you don't know about this? Like, they've been talking about this for months. And they're like, no, we never heard about this. And that's when I realized, what the hell? Like, why are you guys not getting the type of information I'm getting out here in Taiwan? And that's when I realized, oh, propaganda makes sense.
Yeah,
and
it's stupid.
Study PR in school. We had all these case studies about, you know, propaganda and all that stuff, and that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, just to be brief, real quick, before I ask you the next question, since we're on that subject, a friend of mine, I used to hang out with her. Her mother passed away from COVID, and then one of my best friends, he goes to the PCW shows with me. He just told me last night that his grandfather is now in the ICU. So I don't know. I just want to give a quick shout out to my friend Ruben, Soulful Clouds. My thoughts are with you, bro. So anyway, but on the subject of that, with the pandemic being so bad, also at the same time, it's producing a lot of internet trolls as well. And I mean, I see a lot of this stuff, and like, not just you, but like everywhere else. And I'm like, this is so stupid, and it's so ignorant. And I'm like, it makes me want to say like George Carlin said, the 7 bad words on television, you can't say on television. Like shit, piss, fuck, cocksucker, motherfucker, this, all that. You know, I just like, what the hell? You know, is it necessary, really? I mean, why do they do that?
People are bored. They have nothing better to do. They hate themselves, obviously, I guess. That's why they gotta go start shit. So
yeah, I mean, I really hate that.
That's the world we live in, and it's the worst right now because of all this heightened stress and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, it's just really, really crazy. Okay, well, you also like to sing. I've seen on your Instagram posts and on your story sometimes. You know, you like to sing and all that stuff. You usually like to have like some sort of like side hustle, like doing music in your career.
That's what I was doing actually. So I was doing music before, and like the whole wrestling came about. But basically, music was something I always loved. It's the first thing that I really, well, drawing art was the first thing, but the first performance art that I loved was music. So it was something that I loved, and it's actually something I actually really pursued when I was in California. When I first moved out there, and I was doing music after I had quit MMA for a little bit because of that's a whole nother story. That's gonna be a whole nother interview. That's a long story.
Yeah.
Basically, MMA for a little bit, and I pursued music. And when I got back to MMA, I was still doing both. So I was doing both MMA and music.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I think you got a good voice. You know, you ever done karaoke?
Oh yeah, karaoke is like basics. Like
Yeah.
I have actually 37 songs produced.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I was legit pursuing music
Oh,
before,
nice.
before pro wrestling came about.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. That's really awesome. You know, you got to produce music in the studio. That's so sweet. I guess I could ask you one more question before I go. What's next in store for you, I guess? What's next for you for Zeda Zhang?
Well, wrestling, of course. So once things come back up, it's full on with MLW and touring and whatever else that's out and about. Whatever is, I mean, unfortunately, whatever is left after the pandemic. So whoever's still running.
Yeah, well, first of all, Zeda, I really thank you for your time, and I really appreciate it. I know it's probably morning over there in Taiwan right now, right? Yeah, it's nighttime over here in LA, so it's like crazy. But yeah, no, I really, really super appreciate it. And everyone, if you're listening in, go give her a follow. Zeda Zhang on Instagram. Follow her up. You're also on Twitter as well, right?
I'm on everything. Twitter,
on everything.
Instagram, Patreon, TikTok, like Twitch, everything. Just follow my Instagram at Zeda_Zhang, ZEDA_ZHANG. And on the bio link and tabs, it has all my social media.
All right, Zeda. Well, thank you so much for being a part of my show. I really appreciate you having you on, and thank you for your time once again. This has really been pretty fun, actually. It's been a fun conversation. I really enjoy this, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care of yourself over there.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.
So there you have it, my interview with Zeda Zhang. And boy, it was a great interview to have. It was actually really awesome. And for her to tell the stories of when she was a car model, when she was a singer, and when she studied MMA, you know, it's really wonderful how she got in professional wrestling. And, you know, she was telling me the story about her grandma, too, you know, kind of remind me of my grandma a little bit. And you know, it was just really nice conversation we had, and I'll always be appreciated that. So thank you again, Zeda. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll do this again sometime down the road. And I hope when this pandemic's over, you go back to kicking ass and doing what you do best. So good luck to Zeda. Make sure you guys give her a follow at Zeda_Zhang at Instagram and on Twitter. She has a Patreon as well on patreon.com. Her link is on her Instagram bio. Make sure you click on that to subscribe to Zeda Zhang's Patreon. All right, so let's take a look at GCW Cape in Touch. It's a pay-per-view that happened on Fight TV. It's going to be a little different. Usually I review different pay-per-views from WWE or AEW or Impact Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, or whatever. But let's go to the Indies. And the Indies I found really interesting with Game Changer Wrestling, GCW. In case you guys don't know what Game Changer Wrestling is, It's actually, if I could do an adjustment right here, it's actually a really cool promotion. It was actually founded in 1999, but then it got defunct back in 2004, but it got revived in 2013. And it was a promotion that was found in New Jersey. The original owner was Ricky Otatsu, and it ended up being revived and became owned by Brett Lauderdale. So ever since then, they had a notable champions, notable performers in there. They've had a great history. They have been expanding to different elements of mixed martial arts and pro wrestling altogether, with names like Joey Janela and Matt Riddle, and even Josh Barnett. You know, Josh Barnett had a little thing called Bloodsport. It was a pay-per-view, and it was exclusively on Fight TV. He had an event that happened back in August of last year, and it's really interesting. It's like some stiff fucking strong style like wrestling, and it's just like elements of embarking with like mixed martial arts components mixed with professional wrestling. So it's just great stuff. This stuff is actually pretty innovative if you think about it. But anyway, long story short, Brett Lauderdale is the current owner. He's been owning the New Jersey-based promotion. So right now he's currently dealing with some issues and allegations being called a racist. But you know, that's legal action. He has since denied it, and he has actually hired an attorney so he could go and confront these issues. But nonetheless, I really hope that you know, it's nothing problematic. But anyway, on the brighter side of things, I saw this interactive pay-per-view, and I saw it on my TV. And I was able to fork up the $15 for this, so I was able to get it, because I am a big fan of professional wrestling. I love different elements of wrestling, and this is what I like. So anyway, so this pay-per-view that happened, because, you know, like the pandemic, when it struck back in March, you know, most of the professional wrestling industry has been shut down. Just like the MMA industry, it was shut down for a little while, for a good 2.5 months. So, you know, it was kind of difficult to actually have events going on. So, you know, we could check out, see what's happening. But anyway, just about barely like a month and a half ago, they barely started coming out with new pay-per-views as soon as some restrictions started getting lifted in America. And unfortunately, we still have not got rid of the pandemic problem. So we still have new cases here and there. But I'm not going to talk about that during the review. I am going to talk about all the matches. I'm going to give you an exact detail into what I thought about them, and I thought that was nice. I really liked the pay-per-view. So let's go and break it down like this. So the first match is Tony Deppen versus Benjamin Carter. And in the beginning, when the bell rings, Tony Deppen grabs a mic, then starts mocking Benjamin Carter. He's saying that he can't wrestle and can't do this, can't do that, blah, 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 blah. So he tries to mock him. And then Benjamin Carter goes after him and attempts a rib lock, and he escapes a few kicks and an attempted leg sweep. I can see that Benjamin Carter goes out of the ring and then back in, and then he goes back in, then hits Tony Deppen with a drop kick. After some slight momentum changes, Deppen gets him back with a kick, and right in the fucking face. He did some ground wrestling, which they sometimes do in GCW. This is not a blood and guts promotion, you know. They do a lot of hardcore wrestling, but they do some elements of wrestling. So anyway, Deppen locks a figure 4 on Carter, but Carter ended up reaching the ropes. There was a nice jawbreaker by Carter, and then he springboard into a drop kick on Deppen. Then they started slapping each other. It was kind of like a slap contest, which was cool at first, then started to look dumb afterward. But it's all right. After that, Deppen goes outside the ring in the grass, because it's an outdoor venue, and it's right there. There's a grassy field right there. So he goes after Deppen and goes outside of the ring, right in the grass, after an enziguri, which was performed nicely. Then a moonsault attempt by Carter misses, and then Deppen does a tope suicida and knocks Carter down. But then Carter gets back up right away, and then he jumps over the top rope, gets back in the ring, and then he jumps over the top rope and did a top rope dive on Deppen. So that was two nice maneuvers by these two, and I already liked how these two were wrestling. There were some great elements of mat wrestling and agile, high-risk maneuvers. It was just nice looking. So anyway, back in the ring they go. Carter hits a superplex, and then Deppen turns it into a brain buster, and Deppen then gets some momentum. So at the end of the match, Carter has Deppen, and then he goes to the top to perform a spinning corkscrew, but then he misses. Deppen gets a spinning corkscrew splash, then he misses again. So this time, Deppen is aware. So anyway, Deppen is aware of the miss, and he blasts Carter in with a hard-running knee to Tony Deppen. Then he pins him 1, 2, 3. This match is finished. Tony Deppen wins. I like this match. These two did a fantastic job with opening up the pay-per-view. I like Benjamin Carter's athleticism, and Tony Deppen has some good skills in the ring. So, props for both men. I give this match a 7.5. Next match on the card it's an intergender one-on-one matchup. It's Cole Radrick, who was supposed to face Nick fucking Cage, and they were supposed to have a match in this show, but Nick Cage suffered an injury at the last show that they had about a week ago, I believe. It was GCW Homecoming. But anyway, I did see that show as well. That was fantastic. But I guess Nick Cage sustained some sort of shoulder injury. I don't think it's that bad, but it was bad enough for him to be pulled out of the show. So, who was the one that would stand up and take his spot? That would be Kylie Rae. Smiley Kylie Rae from Impact Wrestling, and she's an indie wrestling darling, indie wrestling treasure, so to say. And it's funny because I know she never really does these type of shows, like especially like GCW, especially these hardcore promotions and shit. But it was interesting either way. So Kylie Rae, Smiley Kylie, she dubbed herself MD Kylie. And what is that? It stands for, she was introduced as Murder Death Kylie. Interesting, since Nick Cage was supposed to be in this match, but who better than Kylie Rae? You know, it was nice. That was a nice little spot that they actually filled up, and Kylie Rae was called into action. That's pretty awesome, I gotta say. So this is an intergender matchup. It's one-on-one, and it's traditional wrestling. Well, traditional wrestling, but you know, in GCW, some rules don't apply. Kylie gives Cole Radrick. I never seen him wrestle before, but anyway, this is one of my first times that I've seen him. So Cole Radrick gets a bow from Kylie, so she puts it on his head, and he looks like he's embarrassed just looking at it. Then Kylie attempts a roll-up for a quick near fall. Then Kylie does a handshake and then starts attacking him. So a forearm by Kylie and a couple of head scissors by Kylie. Nice looking, by the way. She did it exceptionally well. And a couple of roll-up near falls and then a cannonball by Kylie. Then she does a gory special, which turned into a backslide by Cole Radrick. Then he gets an over-the-top rope roll, an over-the-rope roll on Kylie, and then a forearm, and gets another near fall. Then Cole Radrick goes out the ring, grabs a chair and a door. Kylie drop kicks the door into Radrick, and Kylie starts attacking Radrick, gets another chair, and Cole fights back, puts the door between the two chairs out on the outside of the ring near the grassy area. He puts another chair upside down, which is going to indicate a spot of some sorts. So Radrick tries to chop Kylie, but Kylie ducks. Or so I thought. I thought she did duck, but I think she didn't do it fast enough. And she got chopped in the mouth. And that was a botch, and that probably hurt. That probably hurt. It was a badly done botch, but it was a painful one. I can tell she was mad by that, so she started attacking Radrick, started punching, kicking him, straight out, and she was getting a little mad. So Radrick is back in the ring, and it turns into a bit of a wrestling match inside the ring, with a submission lock, and then holds him onto the turnbuckle, and then he bumps his head on it 3 times in the middle turnbuckle pad. She actually deadlifted Radrick with a German suplex, and that impressed the hell out of me. Kylie really does have some great wrestling skills, and she really does. She's really good mat orientation. But anyway, then she got into a half Boston Crab by Cole Radrick. Kylie gets out of the submission, starts stomping a mud hole on Radrick, and she yells MD fucking K, and runs and gives him a big boot to the face. Then the spot of the match when they fought off the apron, Kylie power bombs him into the door. Cole then they go back into the ring. They traded submissions, including Kylie's smile to the finish, the STF maneuver she has. And in the end, Cole used Nick Cage's signature backbreaker and pile driver on Kylie Ray. And 1, 2, 3, she's done. Kylie is done. Cody Radrick wins, and then he faces the camera, calls out Nick Cage, and calls him a motherfucker. And then afterwards, he ended up inviting Kylie back into the ring where she was all messed up. And she gives her a hug, and then they have a double smile pose. So, they ended up respecting each other. Good match by both. So kudos to them, 7 out of 10. Next up, we have Calvin Tankman versus KTB. I'm interested in see how these two would perform in the wrestling ring. I've seen Calvin Tankman wrestle at least twice. He's a big man that has some strong agility sense. So the match starts with a show of strength by both men with a series of elbows and chest chops. Tankman did a backflip, and I was like, whoa, that was cool. I was actually impressed. I was impressed by that, so I really liked that. And then he did an arm drag takedown on and then KTB did some nice maneuvers as well, and with an arm drag takedown of his own. Then Tankman and KTB fight near the apron, and then Tankman hits KTB with a spear through the ropes. And by the way Tankman landed, when he gave him the spear through the ropes, Tankman almost landed on his head. But then he got it. It was sick looking. I thought he landed on his head. It was kind of near his right shoulder, but it was a nasty landing. But he gets up right away though, and then he starts attacking KTB. So later on in the match, KTB sends Tankman out to the ring, and then does a nice over-the-top tope, which was nice looking. At the end of the match, the pace was quickened a bit, showcased the strength of Chris Tankman, and then the speed of KTB, which both have a contrast of style. So KTB did a sick Death Valley driver off the top rope on Tankman. I mean, what strength. Some people called it a super attitude adjustment, a super AA. I'm sorry, but you know what? Call it a Death Valley driver. Then KTB got Tankman into a half Boston Crab. Chris Tankman submitted, and KTB is victorious. I like this. I give him a well-deserved thumbs up in this match, so I like this one. A 7 out of 10. Next matchup, Trey Lamar versus Blake Christian. Lamar comes out to Kendrick Lamar music. Yeah, that's a good one. Trey Lamar coming out to Kendrick Lamar. You get it? Anyway. Well, I want to see what he's capable of. So, his opponent is Blake Christian. I've heard of him, but I have yet to see him wrestle. So, let's see what he's capable of.
So this match started on, and boy, talk about a quick start. This match just shot out of a paintball gun into someone's ball sack. Started fast-paced grappling match, and then there was like a knuckle lock into a hurricanrana, which was a nicely done counter. Blake Christian goes outside, and Trey Lamar does a tope to the outside, and then Lamar goes outside, and then Blake Christian does a tope suicida of his own, and it was as quick like a cannon, just boom, just came out of nowhere. Back inside, Lamar gets a double stomp on Blake. And there was some quit mat wrestling, which I like. Chops are traded. And Blake gives a leg sweep. Blake gets kicked in the head. He goes back inside. And a nice springboard lariat by Trey Lamar. You know, he reminds me a little bit of Trey Miguel in a way. Trey Miguel. But anyway. I never seen Blake Christian wrestle until now, and I could see him. He's very quick, and like when in the moment of the match where he came out and he gave an enziguri and then super kick. So I say these both are really fast. At the end of the match, Trey Lamar goes to the top and attempts a 450 splash, and he misses it. So Blake Christian hits him with an Elliott dive, which looks like a crazy-looking splash finish. It almost looked like a corkscrew, but it wasn't. It was like backwards, and it was twisting, so it was a nice-looking maneuver. Crazy-looking finish. And Blake Christian ended up winning the match 1-2-3. Both Trey Lamar and Blake Christian, you know, these both are really fast. And I appreciate the agility of these two. Wasn't a great showcase, but it was definitely worth the watch. Solid effort, 6.5 out of 10. All right, so next matchup we have is 440. That's OH. That's the representative is Ricky Shane Page and Atticus Cougar versus the team of Effie and Alley Cat. And I could not get clear of what their name of their actual tag team is. And later on we will find out it would be Puss in Boots. Something tells me this was improvised, but whatever. I don't care. There is a woman involved in this match, so it's going to be an intergender, even though she's going to be fighting against two men, and then her partner is a man. I just for the record, I want to say I support this. I love it because wrestling is wrestling. You're a wrestler. You're a wrestler. You may have two different divisions. You may have a men's division and a women's division. But, you know, if you're a wrestler, you're a wrestler. And I love it. I love that they do this, in my opinion. And I love the fact that when this happens, whenever I see intergender matches, especially with Kylie Ray and Cody and Cole Rodriguez, or yeah, whatever his fucking name is. But anyway, I already forgot his fucking name. Ain't that bad? No, it's Cole Radrick. But anyway, so I support this. I like this idea. This is definitely good. So anyway, let's talk about the matchup. Now we're on to some serious shit because apparently 440 against Effie and Alley Cat making their entrance, and the commentators are talking big shit about 440. Even saying they're four of the biggest pieces of shit to come out of Ohio, and fuck them, and they represent everything wrong that's wrong with this country. Well, I know what's wrong with this country. A lot of them dumbass politicians spreading their fucking propaganda. But anyway, let's move on. So now they're starting to sound like me when I put fuckers on blast. But anyway, even some people were chanting, fuck Ohio. You know what I mean? So they started doing that crap. And anyway. Now they're starting to sound... So anyway, so it's starting to sound like me. That's fucking fun. I found it very fun to watch. And to listen as well. Anyway, Effie and Atticus start the match. And it's a standard wrestling match, standard wrestling lockup actually. That kind of surprised a little bit of me. I thought it would be a hell of a rivalry that they're going on. But anyway, Effie controls the match and tags in Alley Cat. Effie and Cat hit some tandem offense. And then Alley Cat and then gets tagged in, and then a double team on Atticus Cougar. And she starts chants, pussy, pussy, pussy. And I'm like, huh? Anyway. Then all of a sudden, by the commentary team, we were all informed that they're nicknamed Puss in Boots. Yeah, good one. Funny. Very funny. So anyway, Atticus tags in Ricky Shane Page, gets tagged in, and starts attacking Alley Cat. She gets double teamed, and she gets double teamed a lot in this matchup. So they started doing some illegal tactics, then a couple of back and forth tags. Ricky Shane Page gets back in, and then started trading back and forth tags. They start beating the shit out of Alley Cat until Cat gets some momentum for like a brief minute. But it was long enough to tag in Effie in. He starts fighting off Shane Page and then Atticus Cougar. And then a blockbuster takedown off the top rope by Effie on RSP, Shane Page. Slams Atticus onto RSP. Then he tags in Alley Cat. Gets in a near fall when Atticus Cougar gets his hands on the ropes. Effie grabs a door and several chairs from under the table. The door is set up on 2 chairs, and then Alley Cat was going to attempt to use it. Then RSP stomps the door before a move can be done on it. A total dick move to get heat, and it worked. The crowd got pissed. So anyway, Alley breaks up a pin on Effie. Then all of a sudden, all 4 participants start fighting, and all hell's breaking loose all of a sudden. Effie and RSP are actually the ones legal, as Alley Cat and Atticus Cougar end up getting knocked down to the grass, onto the outside of the ring. Cougar was tope suicida on Alley Cat. That's how they ended up outside. Ricky Shane Page ended up doing a backbreaker and then scores a pinfall. 1, 2, 3. Good match. Solid stuff. I liked it. 6.5 out of 10. It was all right. Kudos. Kudos to them. So, we have a brief intermission, and then after the intermission, it's Nate Webb versus Mance Warner, and this is a match to resume the action at GCW. Keep in touch. I know who Mance Warner is. He's one tough bastard. I definitely know who he is, especially at MLW. Nate, the Spider Webb, is a crazy motherfucker too. He's actually a great wrestler. He is so crazy that he has a cooking show on IWTV. Funny, right? I shit you not. But anyway, this match is going to be reckless. And I know because these two are reckless wrestlers. So, and I figured it was going to be a brawl more than a wrestling match. So let's see what they can do. We start with a reaction test and see who gets a bigger pop. And there's actually a crowd here who could get a pop. So, you know, what the hell. And then Nate Webb started to attack Mance Warner. It's already out of the ring within not even a minute, not even 20 or 30 seconds. They're already fighting outside of the ring. Here comes some chairs being used, and Warner's face is hit with a fucking chair, and he's already bleeding. Not even 2 minutes into the match, there's already blood. So, we're already off to a crazy start. Nate Webb already gets a door between 2 chairs. Mance Warner flips over Nate Webb into the table. And it was a crazy bump because he just flipped him over the top rope and landed straight on those fucking doors, on the table. Or I should say doors, rather. So, when he landed on the door, Mance Warner started to get a couple of doors from under the ring and then gets them inside the ring. He starts stacking up the doors. And then Mance gets a couple of chairs. And then he whoops Webb with them. He starts setting them inside the ring. He sets a door in between 2 chairs again. Nate Webb puts Mance on the door and does a chair moonsault off the top rope into Mance on the door. Then it results in a near fall. Mance gets up, gets a door on the corner, and spears Nate Webb
onto the door, and it doesn't break. And so that must have fucking hurt. So he uses a chair as a launch pad and knees him onto the door, snapping it in half. Webb does manage to recover, however, and then he gets a double stack of doors, puts it on double stacks of chairs. And they both fight on the top rope, and Mance Warner grabs Nate Webb and slams him on the pile of doors. So then it's a big spot, and then 1, 2, no. He is a near fall, he kicks out. Later in the match, there's a big stack of chairs and that they both brought out. They both started fighting, and then Mance Warner gives Nate Webb a double arm DDT on the pile of chairs. 1, 2, 3. Mance Warner wins in a really, really good brawl. So far, that was match of the night so far. So 8 out of 10. Can it actually get topped? All right, so next match, we have a scramble match. It's a 6-man scramble match. Shane Mercer versus Alex Zane versus Jimmy Lloyd versus Jordan Oliver versus Isaiah Velasquez and Ace Austin from Impact Wrestling. So this is a scramble match, and I'll be brief on this. Whoever gets a pinfall victory in the match, whoever scores the pinfall, wins the match. So it's first come, first serve. I know who Ace Austin is. He's in Impact, currently in Impact Wrestling, and he's doing a fine job over there, contending for the Impact World Title. I heard of Isaiah Velasquez, I'll say. I know who he is. He's a great wrestler. He wrestled at AAW over in Chicago. He's done a terrific job in the Indies. Jimmy Lloyd, I know who he is. He's wrestled in the East Coast as well. I definitely know who he is. Fine performer. I don't know who Shane Mercer is. I don't know who Alex Zane is or Jordan Oliver yet. So I take a look at this match, and sure enough, it was a clusterfuck somewhat, but not that bad. Like, it was somewhat easy to follow because everyone in this match got some sort of time in this match. They had some sort of time inside the ring. So looking at Shane Mercer, he has strength and he's really impressive. You know, he's really strong. Jimmy Lloyd, he has some sick power moves. He can move inside that ring. Alex Zane has some crazy speed, especially when he gave a fast hurricanrana on Lloyd. I like Velasquez's wrestling abilities, especially in this match. Although he probably got sliced breaded and then got taken out, and then there was a fast tope suicida which knocked everyone down. Looked like he landed kind of awkwardly on a chair, and he hurt his left leg somewhat. Jordan Oliver, never seen him fight before, but judging by how he did a swinging DDT, he has some great ring awareness. Looking at that. So anyway, Austin and Mercer have a great exchange in the ring. Zane hits the Crunch Wrap Supreme because he names his, I don't know why, but Alex Zane fucking names his wrestling maneuver, some of his special wrestling maneuvers, into something that they get from Taco Bell. I find it fucking funny. Zane hits Crunch Wrap Supreme, which is what Zane calls his fucking finisher. It was nice looking, and Oliver starts on the rest of the guys. Zane hits the taco driver. That's what he calls it. He hits the taco driver on Shane Mercer, and then he gets the pinfall. 1, 2, 3. This match is pretty much a spot fest. That's what this was, pretty much. But it was a spot fest in the physicality in this match. It was, and then of course giving the push to Alex Zane. Solid fun. All 6 men get thumbs up for me. So there you go. 6.5 out of 10. That's what I ranked this match. Co-main event time. Got Chris Dickinson versus AJ Gray. AJ Gray comes out first, and then Chris Dickinson comes out after. Now, I have seen Chris Dickinson wrestle at Bar Wrestling back in November of 2019. He got great power, and he's got great strength. And I haven't seen AJ really actually wrestle, but I like him in this match. He has quickness to attack, and then he started off the match aggressively and started attacking Dickinson right away. And when Dickinson starts attacking, they start having dual chops and knife edge chops. And then Dickinson starts attacking Gray's left leg, which is showcasing a potential weak spot because he starts selling that injury. So with Chris Dickinson keeps attacking, I presume that this is the ring psychology, and they went with. He gets an Indian deathlock submission and then grabs the ropes. So he ended up escaping that. AJ Gray was able to launch a kick with whatever strength on that leg, and then he gets a superplex off the top rope, nicely executed, and then a 10 count was administered on both men, which they ended up standing up. They exchanged forearms in a way, which looks like I'm seeing a strong style match, so it's actually pretty good. AJ Gray gets to the top rope and delivers a leg drop for a near fall. He attempts a tiger suplex, but is countered by Dickinson. AJ Gray does pull it out eventually, and this match just really got physical, and it was more mat-oriented, to my surprise, in GCW. Especially when Chris Dickinson did a top rope hurricanrana, and then a half Boston Crab by Dickinson, only for Gray to bite Chris' hands, break free. AJ Gray fought back, but Dickinson started fighting back as well, and then he gets a chop exchange to go with it. So they both start exchanging chops. And then AJ Gray pulls off an Irinagi suplex, and then gets a near fall twice. At the end of the match, Dickinson gets in a dragon screw on AJ Gray, and then a powerbomb follows suit. So then he ended up getting the half Boston Crab on the wake leg of AJ Gray, and his leg is weakened, so you know that he's going to submit after that and target the weakened knee. So the half Boston Crab was locked on the weak leg of AJ Gray, and then he submits. Chris Dickinson wins the match in what was physically mat-oriented, to my surprise. So I liked it. It was a 7.5 out of 10. That was good stuff. So main event time. Who's the main event in this match? It's ACH, former WWE Cruiserweight, versus Joey Janela from AEW. So here we are. It's main event time. You obviously know who Joey Janela and ACH obviously is if you're actually a true wrestling fan. And then, of course, you get Joey Janela from AEW. I saw Joey Janela wrestle in PCW Ultra back in January 2017. So he's got a great reputation in the indie wrestling scene. So does ACH, by the way. Former WWE Cruiserweight, and he's skilled, no doubt about it. So let's see what they're capable of. A collar elbow tie-up, and it starts like a feeling out process. This is like traditional wrestling lockups. And then they started exchanging like near falls. ACH takes control of the match, and then he throws Janela outside the ring. He then gets the match back in the ring and goes for a near fall. ACH chops so hard that Janela falls out of the ring and again into a chair. They ended up going to the floor with knife edge chops on him into the chair, on the chair while he's sitting there. He falls on his ass. He gets sent. Then he sends ACH. Janela does. He sends ACH to the post. Janela knocks ACH on the apron. Janela picks up him and he puts him on his back and sprinted near. He's holding him on his back, and then he sprinted like 20 feet near the spectators and gave him a Death Valley driver while he was sprinting. They started fighting near a water stream, which over the rail would be the fucking river. So if you were to go over that fucking river, you're fucking done for, because that stream will probably swipe you away. But anyway, so They started fighting near the water stream nearby. There was a little a guardrail right there, but he gets a double axe handle off a 3-feet stump. Sends him. Then he gets back and sends him towards the ring once again. Midway towards the match, where ACH sent Joey Janela to the grass and hits a tope suicida on Janela. That, by the way. And then, of course, vice versa, because they both actually exchanged tope suicidas. So ACH kicks Janela in the jaw and gives him a German suplex on the apron, which looked like it hurt. And I mean, it looked like it hurt. Back in the ring they go. ACH attempts a frog splash, but he misses. Janela comes and has some momentum going, but then ACH went to the top and gives Janela a top rope tiger driver, which was actually pretty gnarly. But he gets a near fall out of the whole thing. Janela gets up and attacks to end up hitting a pile driver on ACH. So midway through, ACH hits this crazy-ass backflip bicycle kick, then gets a brain buster and a superplex. Actually, he gets the superplex first, then gets a brain buster. So then that results in a near fall. And Janela ends up getting another Death Valley driver, gets a near fall, and then gets a near fall. Janela is starting to sell an arm injury, which indicates a weak point. So to me, it looked like he was trying to grab his right shoulder, and probably was some sense of a fucking a weak point there. Janela pulls out a huge clothesline, but ACH rolls out of the ring to avoid the pinfall. Then Janela. I almost sound like Jim Cornette there with Jelly Janela. Nah, I'm not going to be like that. I'm calling him Janela. So Joey Janela on the top, and then a sick moonsault to the outside. It looked crazy. Right on the ACH. So then, the way this match ended, he rolled back. He rolled back in ACH. And then when the referee was around, ACH then hits a nut shot, punched him straight in the fucking balls, and then he locks in the crossface on Joey Janela, and Janela submits. So ACH wins this match, and then he ends up grabbing 2 White Claws. Someone handed him 2 White Claws, those mixed drinks. He grabs a microphone, tells Joey, hey man, it's nothing personal. It's just business. And I just wanted to keep the winning streak going. Then he offers him a White Claw. And this is how we end the show. The match was an 8 out of 10. The finish was questionable. But in any event, it was more like a traditional wrestling match to my surprise. This could have been an 8.5 as far as wrestling terms go. So, but I gave it a 0.5 deduction for the finish. It was a dirty finish, but whatever. I don't care. It was still a great match. And it was a traditional wrestling match to my surprise, because Joey gets involved with these crazy fucking hardcore matches. Especially in GCW. I remember he had that match with Danzig. That was fucking nuts. So he kind of kept his feet on the ground, so to say, in this match. Well, to my surprise. But, you know, I guess that just shows why AEW signed him, to showcase his skills there. So there you go, you know. And as far as ACH is concerned, you know, he's wrestling out there in the independents. You know, he's just striving around all over the areas. So the 8 out of 10 main event, what did I actually think of the event? I'm going to go on and say it's a 7.5 out of 10. There was a lot of good matches. It was good to see Kylie Ray and Ace Austin from Impact Wrestling. Mance Warner and Nate Webb, it was a straight-out fucking brawl. Although I know that they have done more violent matches than this, but I still think this was really cool and definitely worth recommending. I recommend this event. This would be like a good introduction to the promotion if you're new to this. So this event is on Fight TV, and for $15, I don't see why not. It's pretty much worth more. It's worth more for bang for your buck than compared to watching a WWE pay-per-view, especially the horrible show at Extreme Rules. And I was like, God damn, what the fuck? But at any event, 7.5 out of 10 for GCW Keep in Touch 2020. Well, that does it for this week's episode of the Wrestling Enthusiast Real Talk. I'll probably produce another one later on in the week. We'll be talking about WWE NXT and AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. We'll take a look at the August 4th episodes, and let's see how they do. Let's see how it goes from here, as AEW is pretty much going to get ready for their all-out pay-per-view, which is going to happen on September 5th. And then, of course, WWE NXT is going to be setting up stories for and matches for NXT TakeOver 30. So it's definitely going to be an interesting show, and I look forward to it. It's going to be awesome. So anyway, with that being said, this has been a truly awesome podcast. I want to thank again Zeda Zhang for coming on the show. She was really cool, and we had a fun little conversation, and it was really awesome. You know, it was. Hopefully, we do it again somewhere down the road. But you know, I look forward to her when the pandemic ends. I look forward to her seeing in action in MLW. So let's see how it goes. But in the meantime, it's time to end this podcast. To all the wrestling fans out there, join in either on Thursday or Friday. Hopefully, we'll get it done by then. But until then, this is Eric Peralta, a.k.a. The Wrestling Enthusiast, reminding you to wash your ass. See you guys on Thursday or Friday. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.